Hello, I'm Laura Knights, CEO of Knights Consulting, creator of BlackWomanLeading.com, and the host of Black Woman Leading, the podcast. This podcast amplifies the needs and experiences of Black women leaders in the workplace with a holistic focus on 3 core areas: leadership development, mental wellness, and relationship management. Our ultimate aim is to help Black women learn, heal, and grow in their leadership capacity. Hey y'all, before we jump into the next podcast, I just want to let you know that enrollment is open for our fall cohort, our early career and our mid-career program. We are now registering for our next cohorts that start the week of August 18th. So you can visit our website to learn more. There's an early career page to learn about that program. There is a mid-career page to learn about that program. We're hosting information sessions so you can learn about the program. We're also having the opportunity for you to sign up for an individual call with a member of our team to ask your questions. However you want to get the information, visit our website at blackwomanleading.com. We'd love to work with you in one of our cohort programs that infuse not only strategy for your career development, no matter where you are on your journey, but also some coaching, some support, and most importantly, some community. You do this work, growing as a leader, growing in your career development in the community of other Black women. Our registration for our early career and our mid-career programs also include a ticket to the 2026 Black Woman Leading Live Conference and Retreat. So yes, please join us. Visit the website to get all of the details. You can also shoot us an email at info@knightsconsultinggroup.com so we can answer any other questions you have. But we would love to invite you into our community and support you in this leg of your career journey. Again, visit the website at blackwomanleading.com to get all of the details. All right. So welcome everyone. Today we are talking about optimizing your salary with Ange Matthews. So welcome to the podcast, Ange.
Thank you so much for having me.
Excited to have you to jump into this. We're talking about the coins today, so I got my money green glasses on. But before we jump into it, let me give you the official about Ange. Ange Matthews is an investor, personal finance expert, speaker, and the CEO of the Happy Investor Method. Her goal is to make investing and personal finance accessible and fun for all. As an experienced investor with nearly 20 years of experience, she has supported thousands of individuals through workshops and one-on-one coaching. A first-generation investor, Ange was making $40,000 a year and has 6 figures in debt. She taught herself how to generate 7 figures of passive wealth through responsible money management. Her approach is not only happy but effective. And since then, she's used her investments to become a hotel owner, real estate investor, angel investor, and shareholder in 89 plus companies, okay? Her mission is to help others do the same. Now, I always say I only invite guests here who have the receipts. I think y'all can say that Ange has the receipts, okay? Just from that short bio. Just real quick, how Ange and I met. I think it was 2023, Ange. We were both attending the Black Enterprise Women of Power Summit, met randomly in the hallway, chit-chatted, exchanged information. We kind of did an email or so and then kind of lost contact. And she has recently relocated near me. And so we're like neighbors now. And random, I met my chiropractor. And y'all know my chiropractor is part of my wellness team. Shout out to Dr. Twyla. You all have heard about her on the podcast before. I'm in there minding my business, getting my adjustment. And she was like, I got this lady I need you to meet. She would be perfect for Black Woman Leading. And she started talking. And I'm like, wait a minute. I think I met her before. And so what is that, right? That's divine. So we have reconnected, excited. Ange also spoke at our retreat this year and brought that fire, sharing these tips and tools with our attendees. And so I wanted to have her on the podcast as well. So excited to jump into this. Before we get into talking about the money though, Ange, I want to just ask you this question that we ask everyone as we get started on the podcast. And is, what does the phrase Black Woman Leading mean to you? And can you share a little bit about your journey? We've heard your bio, but your journey into doing this work that you're doing now.
Well, Black women leading to me means first leading from within and then leading outward to make it better for everyone else. I'm a very visual person. So when I think about it, I think of uh, the image of myself in a mirror, looking at myself in a mirror, and the reflection back at me is my other sister. And it's almost as if whatever I see in myself, I see reflected back in her. And if
Mm,
one of us can pull each other forward into the mirror for goodness, then let's do it. I know it's a really interesting description, but that's what it means to me.
yeah, yeah, I love that, and it's reminding me of like the self compassion kind of literature because it's around like, would you treat yourself the same way you treat your friends, right? Or do you treat yourself the same way you treat your friends? So wanting to see that woman in the mirror win. I love that visual. I love it. Okay, so on this episode today, we're talking about optimizing your salary, and that's an interesting choice of words. Before we start getting into all the details, Ange, can you just share your insights? Because I got this title from you. What is it? What does it mean to optimize your salary?
To me, it means to make the most of what you have. When I started working and I had my first W-2 job, I really wasn't paid that much. It was $40,000 a year. And this was over almost 20 years ago. So
Mm,
you can only imagine that that really wasn't going to cut it in New York City. But what I did do successfully, I think, is I optimized it, meaning that I gave every single dollar a job.
mm,
And I was working and my money was working too. And sometimes the money was working overtime. And so that's what I mean by optimizing your salary. It just means how do you take what you earn and really make it last as long as possible? Make it work for you. Make it have multiple jobs, not just one.
Now you know you're gonna have to break that down for the people, right? When we say my money is working for me, I know that could look multiple ways, but what are some of the ways that you have been able to make your money work for you?
For me, making my money works for me. It simply means that what am I doing so that this dollar can last longer than, say, 24 hours? So when I think about money hitting our account or money coming to me, there's, of course, that excitement like, ooh, I have money. And then I started realizing that I had the, ooh, I have money. And then I would spend the money and then it would go to, ooh, I have no money.
Where did my money go?
Where'd the money go? I don't understand. I'm just waiting again for the 15th and the 30th. I found myself just really rushing life just to get to a payday. And
Yeah.
when I sat back and thought about it, I thought, okay, this is ridiculous because this is my actual life. I'm getting gray hairs in the process. Literally, I'm getting older. And so I started doing was I started actually investing. I started
Mm,
taking some of that money. I said, okay, I know I like to enjoy my life. I love to go out. I like to hang out with my friends and do things. I still love to travel, but some of this money still has to be here later.
yeah.
I have to have some receipts, some proof, something for all the hard work that I did. And at the time that didn't mean just saving it for me because I noticed when I looked at my savings account, whatever I left there was still there when I got back. And
Hmm.
I didn't enjoy that. I wanted to actually see more. And I know that sounds crazy because it's who would put more in your savings if you don't? But if you actually invest, well, the expectation is that when you do go back, there is more.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so we're gonna get to this investing because there's a lot of people I'm sure that's listening that's like, I want to get started. I want to get started. But first, let's start with what people do have this salary, right? You often say that most people are underpaid and don't even realize it. So, what are some of those silent ways that people are leaving money on the table in their 9 to 5?
So when I first started, my earlier in my career, I was a recruiter. And I think it's so important to not underestimate the value of every single position you have in your life, in your career,
Mm,
even before you decide it's a part of your career. Even those jobs that were just, I just want to earn a little extra money. It doesn't matter. Everything can be used for your good. And
yeah.
so when I started um, investing or started thinking about investments, I was a recruiter. And at the same time, when this was happening, I was actually negotiating those contracts that people would get paid from. And so
Ah.
when they came back with, say, hey, we want this much money, and I had my particular budget to give it to them, I would try to wiggle around that, but there's but so much we could do. So then I try to offer them concessions. And this is where I learned that there are so many things you can navigate and negotiate within your salary that you have no idea about. Things
Mm,
like deciding if you can have more PTO days and then making them pay you for those non-taken PTO days later is a strategy. Things like negotiating for extra stock options and
Hmm.
saying, hey, it's okay if this isn't within your budget, or we can meet halfway and I'm willing to take stock options. Creating a separate investment account specifically for your compensation is a way you can do it. There are other things, beyond the typical max your 401k and take advantage of that matching. There's other things you can do, such as setting up a self-directed IRA. I actually think the system is wired for you to win financially if you know how to play the game within the
Mm,
system.
mm. Okay. Now you started to dive into the overlooked parts of the compensation package, right? That can help people build wealth. Is there any common trends you see around this with Black women in particular from your work?
I see a lot of Black women typically taking the additional money, especially when negotiation or in promotion time. And so you might say, okay, there's a 10%, not a 10%. It's rarely ever a 10% increase if it's not a promotion, but there might be a $10,000 increase, or there might be a $20,000 increase. Versus if you actually thought about the other tools in your negotiation, if you were a little bit more savvy about what you can get in terms of employment stock options or employer stock options, well, that might have actually ended up being 20 and 30,000 versus just the 10 or 20.
Wow.
And a lot of, I think, Black women tend to go for that dollar amount and not realizing what we want to do is go for the percentage.
Okay. So there's some education around that people, because they're not making the decision because they don't know. They just don't know. Where can people get some of that information from? Are there, common resources either that you have or that you recommend that people can begin from a very beginner space if they are not well versed, begin to learn about some of this?
Yes, absolutely. So I have a live training audio because I'm an audio person, and it is entitled Seven Mistakes Preventing You from Having a High Net Worth. And we talk about some of these subliminal things that a lot of us might not really realize
Okay.
are there in our message to us, but it actually breaks it down in plain English. So a lot of people don't understand that all around us there are echo signs of, hey, I want my money to work for me. There are a lot of companies saying you can invest in me. Your job is saying we can give you a percentage increase. The tax person is saying, hey, do you qualify for this deduction? There's so many things subliminally being pushed to us to get closer with our money. But then when you open up the Google and you start just searching, okay, how do I get better salary negotiation, or
Yeah.
how do I maximize my paycheck? Well, there's about 1,000 sites, and then by the time you click the fourth link, you're already out of it. You're already just dismissing it for you. And so
Yeah.
I would say definitely there are resources like that. I also enjoy, honestly, you could do a really great conversation in Chat GPT. I know that we're coming out
Mm.
with something soon to show people how to use Chat GPT as somewhat of their money therapist,
Oh,
because at this point, I feel as if Chat in about 10 years will know us more than our spouses will, which is kind
that's
of crazy.
crazy. Ain't that crazy? It's a little scary too, right?
Oh, it is, but Amazon already knows it's probably a little bit better than our spouse.
That's why you're getting all them spot on advertisements in your social media feed, right?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So that audio training you have, that's available for people. We could put that in the links where they can access that.
Yep, you can absolutely access it. It'll be at happyinvestorguide.com, and we'll hook
Okay.
you up with the links. I
Okay,
didn't
perfect.
anticipate throwing it out this early, but
Yeah. We I'm just flowing. I'm flowing with where we are. So, just reading your bio, right, and amazing, right, from six figures in debt to a hotel owner and all of these amazing things that you're doing. You've built wealth unconventionally, blending entrepreneurship, investing, a 9 to 5 strategy. First, I do want to ask you, like, how can someone start doing that while they're working full time? But before that, I just need a little bit more information of I'm sure people are like, wait a minute, we need the tea, honey. Like, you went from, working a full-time employee to entrepreneur, but like teaching people about money. Like, what were some of those in between pivots that got you to here?
so for me, it was always knowing that my wealth is my wealth is still yet to come in
Okay.
terms of its full magnitude. So I grew up in Queens, New York, and I really wasn't raised in the conversation of wealth building. I was raised in the conversation of scarcity, lack. We were paycheck to paycheck, bill to
Mm-hmm.
bill, robbing Peter to pay Paul. And it was very scary for me. And it really did trip out my nervous system all the time. And so
Wow.
when I became older, I knew that if everyone has a chance at being broke and poor, I totally did my time. Like, never again. Like, yes, God, we're good here. Pass over Ange. And
Yes.
if it's according to me, for my entire lineage that passes through this womb.
Yes.
Right. Ain't nobody ever coming from my line ever have to experience what I experienced.
I heard
And
that.
so when I realized that that was my goal, then I realized everything was a means to an end. And so granted, I had this job in the beginning, and that is a part of my origin story. I started by simply Googling, how do you become rich?
Mm.
And I didn't have a wealthy aunt, uncle, you know, a rich granddaddy. I wasn't a trust fund baby. So that was the smartest entity I knew at the time that can give me actual factual information. And simply what Google said, and it wasn't simple, it was about like a 3-day search. I kept on doing it at my desk at work,
Mm-hmm.
and somebody would come and I would hide the window and cover it over with the search so they wouldn't see what I'm doing. Like, is Ange trying to plan her escape here? What's going on?
Yes.
And so Google pretty much said it's either going to be entrepreneurship or you have to be a passive millionaire, meaning you have to have something else generating your money for you. So you can do entrepreneurship and you can do investing. And that's what I set out to do. That very month, I decided to start a jewelry business, a side hustle. And I said, okay, I'm going to bet on myself with this entrepreneurship, but what is my insurance?
Yeah.
Just in case this doesn't work. I can also invest in the companies that probably have a better chance of survival, which is the Amazon, Google, like Caterpillar. And that's how it started. And I didn't actually know the power of investing until much later. So it wasn't until about a few years later, about 3 or 4 years later, my father was really terminally ill and I had to become his caretaker.
Mm.
And we ran out of money because I stopped working at my business. He, was retired at the time. We were going to all these fancy doctors, doing the co-pays, organic food. And I told you the context that we grew up in was not a
Yeah.
lot of money. So we ran out of money and I was praying one day and God just simply said, check the accounts. And
Mm.
I thought, okay, God, why are you teasing me right now? Because you know there's a
Okay.
big negative in this account right now. You know that I know that you know that it's red.
Yes. Yes.
And God was just like, no, check the accounts. And then I remembered these accounts that I had in my like early 20s when I
So
was
you had
working at
set
my
it and
job.
forget it,
Oh, I
basically.
absolutely set it and forgot it. I forgot it. I stopped working. I started doing this business. So I even stopped putting money into it.
Wow.
So I like to tell people that there's nothing wrong you can do with investing that I haven't done and learned from.
Mm.
Because I have really done all the bad things and still I'm a passive millionaire. Like it baffles me how
Wow.
much grace is afforded in the path to making money. So all that to say, I realized that this was something. I went back to the account and there was over $50,000 there.
Wow.
Like $50,000.
Wow. That you forgot. You didn't even know was sitting over there while you and daddy over here struggling.
So where else does that show up in our life where we here asking for things that we already have?
Wow.
Anywho, that's what happened. And so I was able to use that money. I didn't liquidate all of it, but I did liquidate a good chunk of it to help my dad. And it was probably the hardest point in my life, but I
Mm.
am absolutely confident that it would have been extremely harder without having money.
Yeah. So that activated something and you like, hold up, wait a minute now. We on to something. Let's turn this up a notch. And you then began to dive more into the investing. Now, what was the transition to Happy Investor Method where you started to teach other people? When did that happen for you?
This is going to give a lot of, I think, motivation to people who feel multi-passionate, multi-talented. If you're
Mm-hmm.
someone who you're sitting on the fence on a gift that you have and you're thinking, I cannot do both. Well, I'm going to tell you a story that's going to give you reassurance that you need to
Mm-hmm.
follow your passion. I'm not saying full time, but you do get to do both.
Yeah.
So at the time I was working, I had a social media agency. I was working in tech because I was a recruiter at a tech firm. It was really easy for me to open up something in tech adjacent. So social
Okay.
media, I was pretty young at the time and everyone just assumed that I knew what I was doing because I was young and it was social media.
The youth
This
worked in your favor then. Yes.
It did. You got to use everything in your
Yes.
favor. And so I used that. And technically I did know a lot more than, a 50-year-old who just really knew nothing. So yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I knew more, especially from business. So I did that and eventually I started not enjoying it. So naturally I'm an introvert and I do enjoy quality time and human connection. And it really irked me when people would be at restaurants or when they would be with their kids and everyone's just looking down at their devices.
Yeah.
And I'm a part of that. I'm creating it. I'm a social media strategist, consumption. And what I realized at that point was, you know what? I'm good though, because these people are actually paying me while they're being distracted because
Hmm.
I own stock in Facebook. I own stock in a lot of other these companies that are tech companies that just kind of make me feel a little bit off. And so I was actually an influencer in the field at that time, news stations. I would be on Sirius XM. I would really talk about tech. And then one day I just had this moment where I couldn't lie anymore about the way I
Hmm.
felt about it. I just had to say something. And then I ended it with this rant, of course, of, people being disengaged. And I ended it with, but you know what? We're all adults here. Do what you want. You're making me wealthier. You're doing what you want that makes you happy. I think in the end, it's going to be okay. And then people said, wait, pause. What you mean we're making you wealthier, though? And I said, oh, I'm an owner in these companies.
Hmm.
I'm a stockholder. I'm a shareholder. So you're making these companies wealthier, and in turn, I'm getting wealthier because the value of the company is getting more and more and more. And so
Yeah.
I'm okay with this. And then so people said, okay, can you show us how to do it? And I said, okay, I'll come back next week and show you. Then they said, can you show us more? I said, okay, I'm going to do a boot camp. And everybody who wants to learn, come do this boot camp real quick for 2 nights. I only got 2 nights and I got to go back to my business.
Yeah.
And then that's what happened. And more people kept on saying, okay, now what? I did this, it worked. Now what? And then
Wow.
before I knew it, I was spending more time educating people on investing than even with my clients and my business.
Wow.
And the revenue actually surpassed my business. And I enjoyed it. And then I
Wow.
thought, okay, we're on to something here. And that's how it
Wow.
happened.
So you kind of fell into that thing, just minding your own business,
My
and
whole
people
own business.
and people are like, "Wait, girl, what you got going on over there? Show us how to do this." And so now, what does the scope of the work look like in Happy Investor Method now?
Well, now we're coming up on 10 years, and
Wow.
now it's not just we've worked with thousands of people in making them accredited. So that's my North Star. My North Star
Okay.
is if I can make you an accredited investor, which simply means the government realizes you're wealthy, and now you can actually do serious investments.
Wow.
So until you're accredited, you can't invest in private deals. You wouldn't be able to walk in, own a hotel unless you knew somebody. You wouldn't be able to invest in, say, Uber before it became public. You wouldn't really
I
get in on
see.
these ground up opportunities. And so for us, we're dedicated to making accredited investors. And some people already are accredited and they just have no idea.
Yeah.
And so what we do then is take them from not understanding just basic financial literacy around money and investments, and then we equip them with the knowledge and strategy to just understand it in a
Yeah.
very simple way. So that's our primary goal. And then after a while, a lot of our clients and our executives started saying like, hey, can you come in and teach my team this? I know you have a business background. And that's when it started morphing into doing a lot of our corporate and organizational
Okay.
work. So now what we do is we also create curriculum and curriculum design for non-for-profits as well as financial entities and corporations around financial and investment education for regular everyday people.
Yeah, I love that, and how it started from you trying to grow your own value, your own wealth, and then starting to share that with other people, and then it's like a whole decade long business now. That's powerful. Congratulations on that. That's amazing. That's
Thank you.
amazing.
I appreciate it. I still
Yeah,
can't believe it's me, honestly. Considering where I grew up and where I am now, when you think about being qualified and
yeah,
typically qualified to be the face of something, and I'm spiritual, so I'm just very spiritual.
yeah,
And when I
yeah.
can't logic it, I just ask. I ask
Yes,
God. And every time I ask God, like, why me? But why me? The answer is always the same. Why not you?
why not you?
Why not you? And so what I want to say to anyone listening, for any dream you have and you're just like, this makes no sense. Like, why
Yes,
me? Why do you have me in this room? Why am I in this position? You know I don't like to do this, this, and this, but you still have me here. Why me?
yes,
Listen back and see if God literally just whispers in your ear, but why not you? Why are
yeah.
you not the evidence of everything that is possible?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And I love too, part of it is that you didn't squander it, right? Because it's about how we're a good steward of the gifts. And our gifts is not just money, it's our talents, it's our ability to connect with people and to teach them and all of this. That, you had some knowledge, some value, and you duplicated that, by sharing it with other people. Those, even if you read the script, that's the kind of things that God invests in, things that are duplicated, right? Things that are duplicated. I love it. So I started this path of this conversation right now with saying, you've built wealth unconventionally, blending entrepreneurship and investing in 9 to 5 strategy. So let's go back to our listeners. How can someone start to do this while they're still working full time? What are some of those initial steps that they can start to do to build wealth for themselves and their families as well?
I think the first thing you need to do is have a commitment.
Hmm.
You have to make a decision. You have to decide that I am yet to be the wealthiest I will ever be, and I'm
Yeah.
ready to start that relationship now. You
Yeah.
really have to stand on that, because if you don't, there are going to be times where it gets a little shaky and you're going to have to remember the commitment. So remember, I said I had a commitment, right? My wealthiest days are to come, and it's going to come real quick, right?
Yeah.
Now I still have a commitment, which is every single breath I take, my money grows. So
Wow.
you have to have a commitment. And then once you make that commitment to, okay, I'm going to figure this out, then you start figuring it out. You start thinking to yourself, okay, I have this much time in the week. Can I realistically dedicate just 45 minutes to an hour once a week to myself, to my wealth? And
Yeah.
if you can start there, make the commitment, carve out the time, now we get to be really predictable and strategic about what we fill that time in with.
Yeah.
And what I'm trying to say here is it has to be intentional. So you're not just going to wake up one day and be a multimillionaire
Right.
or whatever
Right.
that goal is for you. It takes, like any relationship. This is another relationship. You're going to have to get to know your money. And for some of us that feels a little yucky because it's something that we just have taken for granted.
Yeah.
Our paychecks, go directly into our accounts. It gets refilled on auto. If you're a business owner, hopefully you have more than enough to support you, but you have to go back and do the yucky things. And once you do that, and you understand, okay, not really yucky, but I can actually decide to invest maybe 10% of what I bring in.
Yeah.
And once you have that number, 10%, well, 10%, some of us, we're going to think, whoa, that's way too much. If that's too much, that's okay. It's a nervous system response. I want you to calculate how much you spent on food eating out in 2 weeks, and
Oop.
that's going to be your budget.
Oop. Come on and get us together then, Ange.
Yes, it gets that real. The second I say it, they're like, wait, what?
Boy, you snatch your edges now. Wait a minute, sis.
Yeah, because
Okay.
that money was gonna be gone in 24 hours anyway. You was gonna use the bathroom.
Yes.
It's gonna be
Yes.
gone.
Yes.
And so that's what we want to do. And once we have that budget, now you're saving that money aside. We're not investing it just yet, but it's there for us when we are already educated. So
Okay.
that's what I encourage people to do is, okay, now we can start thinking. Now we can start, going through our credit card statements if it's just regular stock investing, right? Because I do stock and private investments as well. But stock to me is the lower
Got
barrier
it.
of entry. We're not going for day trader status here. We're not doing options. We are doing the most plain thing that old white men have done for hundreds of years,
Yep.
and it works. So we want to do what they've been doing, which is just buying some really great valued companies and holding it. And so
Yeah.
that's where I suggest you start. Just like I said, it's going to be your mindset. It's going to be really carving out that time and then being intentional with what you're putting in that time. When you think about what to put in that time, all you have to do is think, okay, how about I figure out what a stock is? How about I listen to Ange's audio? How
Yep.
about I just see, hey, I go to Costco a lot. How much does the share of Costco cost? Or I have Verizon for my phone. How much is Verizon? A share of Verizon. Just start thinking about these things so you can shift from consumer to investor.
Yeah, yeah. And if I just kind of break down what I heard you say, one, there was a commitment. So there is a commitment that you're making to yourself. Two, you're looking through your finances and seeing what can I set aside for this purpose. And then you're starting to actively set that aside, saving it, putting it up somewhere. Then three, you're going to educate yourself first. So you're not going from I'm going to give 10% and then just throwing it anywhere. You're going to educate yourself, looking at the resources. Ange has some, there's probably a ton of stuff out there, and trying to educate yourself and then starting at a very basic level, which might be investing in stocks or things you use and products that you already spend your money on. Was that kind of the start?
That
Okay.
really could just be a journey for one whole quarter.
Yeah.
And if you see it's working, then go and get like actually educated. If this is something that you think, whoa, this company actually went up in value. Oh
Yeah.
shoot, I might be pretty good at this. Yeah, we all have a little bit of beginner's luck. And so that works out really well. But then some of us we don't. And
Yeah.
so either way, you want to understand why that happened so you can create those results again, so you can make a system of it. And so
Yeah.
that's really how the happy investor method got created. It's simply because I kept on analyzing my mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And I think, there's a mystique around investing if you're not familiar or educated in it. And there's a mystique around it. And I think part of that mystique is fear that I'm going to waste my resource, right? I'm going to not know what to do and I'm going to put something in and it's just going to ruin me. But what you're talking about is really incremental. You're deciding the amount. And if she got you together with that eating out, okay, she like you spending it anyway in the way you ain't getting it back and probably ain't even eating healthy. So can we repurpose some of those things that we are already really expending and use it for this purpose? I love that. That makes it more tangible, right? It makes it more accessible. I feel like if you're a person listening and it feels like, oh, this is scary or I don't know what to do. Love that. Okay. We got our starting point. We got our starting point there. So you spoke on this topic of optimizing your salary at the retreat, and there was an additional piece around optimizing your financial wellness as well. And so, what does that financial wellness or financial well-being really mean to you? And over 20 years of doing this work, has that definition changed any for you?
Oh, has it ever?
Do
Well,
tell.
well, wellness really changes depending on what stage of life you are and the
Yeah,
care you need. And so wellness, when I first started my journey of having a relationship with my money,
yeah,
right? A relationship where I actually was in charge of that relationship, early 20s, self-care and wellness to me was going out with my friends to happy hour in New
yeah,
York City. And that might not have actually been the best wellness because the morning after I was just totally laid out.
yeah.
But that was mental wellness for me, right? And I had a little budget like, okay, Ange, we're going to do 2 drinks and that's it. We can't do 2 drinks and a dessert. You can do 1 drink and 1 dessert and that's it,
Okay.
right? And so I was still kind of crave space for that. And I think the things that create wellness in my life have changed, but that same methodology and thought pattern have not. And
Okay.
so an example would be, okay, we can do 2 massages a month, or we can get all my nails with designs. If not, I can only get 2 fingers with designs because my nail tech is actually an artist and I really go in.
Okay.
And so it's kind of one of my self-care things to
Okay.
do. And I'll just kind of change that, right? Depending on what my needs are to be well. And that is a part of financial wellness, right? Because what I'm thinking is I have to have my money last today and tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so every single month, I know I'm investing a certain amount of money because I know in 2 to 3 years, it's going to like triple.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's a really big deal to not get wrapped up in using all the money now and to have care around that. This
Yeah.
said, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And I have seen a lot of things come to pass where people die early, where they retire and they can't do much, where they underestimated what their savings were,
Yeah.
where, their hip don't work so good, so they can't go to Machu Picchu. I'm not
Yeah.
about that life.
Yeah.
And so we have to do both. We have to focus on financial wellness, actual wellness for today and tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. So is that financial wellness then around how are you kind of stewarding your money to support these other parts of your life? Is that how you would sum it?
I suppose for me, financial wellness now is kind of that. It's
Yeah.
how how can I be supported, um, mind, body, and soul
Yeah.
with my money.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And different seasons of life, as you talked about, that might shift, right? I'm even thinking about now in mid 40s, I'm thinking about health more, right? And so when I think about a lot of ways that I'm spending my expendable money, it's for the chiropractor, it's for massage. I kept seeing this ad because you got to do a lot of speaking and standing. I just kept seeing this ad for these shoes that got, their heels and they're cute and they were leopard print, but they got this ergonomic setup. And I'm like, a little more pricey than I want to spend, but I'm thinking about my back and my feet not hurting, right? And so I do think in different seasons of your life that'll shift, but I think there is that common thing of what you're talking about is how is the money supporting me to live my best life? And how are my financial decisions supporting me to do that too? Now, although you snatched our edges earlier, with, with checking us on our eating out budget, okay, there is this balance. We talked about like you could do all the saving in the world and never spend and end up leaving out of here and never have created memories with your family with the money, right? So how do you guide people who are trying to balance enjoying their money now, living their life, doing the things they enjoy doing while still building for the future, and they're trying to find that balance? What feedback or guide advisory would you give them?
I would say there's something that I like to ask my clients when we go through their spending and they really blow through a lot
Yeah.
of money in a short amount of time. And it can be pretty crazy. I do have one client who went through 40K in a month.
Ooh,
And I was like, what happened?
yeah.
What was going on? And there's a question that I always like to ask people when they spend a lot on certain things. It's, what does this mean to you?
Yeah.
And so if I have a client who, there's this really beautiful bag that just dropped and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I have to get it, Ange. You don't understand. This is not like the other 20 that I had." And I simply, what does this mean to you?
Yeah.
And they're like, this means that like I have made it. Before I could not afford that, and now I can afford it. I have made it. This is gonna just give me so much confidence. I'm gonna exude so much confidence. I may even catch this man that I've been trying to catch for a long time. He might notice this bag. And so when you get to the heart of what does this mean to you, this bag is a representation of so much more than just the bag.
Yeah.
And how can we get the desired impact or effect without it costing so much?
Yeah.
And so I see this a lot with parents in terms of buying things for their children. They'll just buy. Because I am a parent, will buy as a concession for love. And it's like, what does this mean to you? Well, this means that if I buy them this new game or this new system, they'll see that me working so hard is worth it.
Yeah.
And so if that's what that means to you, is there any other way we can show them that you working so hard is worth it?
Yeah.
How else can we do that besides this? And what if we can actually take that money you were going to spend for them and invest it?
Yeah, and set them up for the future. I think from just being a parent myself, I think sometimes too, and I'm resonating as you were talking about your story earlier of sometimes the spending is also because my kid is not going to go through that, and so they're going to have the things that they want because I work hard, and it's a projection of almost like you giving back what you wanted, right? That you couldn't get, but your children don't know that struggle. So that's for you. That's not really for them, right? And being able to reconcile that piece too. It's important. I love that you're bringing up the mindset piece, right? Because there's this mindset forward, just as you said, and making a commitment to start to make some of these decisions. But I imagine as you keep leveling up, of course, in your wealth, that you still need to level up in that mindset. So what are some of the mindsets as you think about yourself and growing in your wealth, the people that you work with, your co-investors on projects? What mindset shifts have you seen that help high earners to go from just surviving financially to actually kind of building that long-term wealth? What were some of the levels of the mindset shifts that you see?
Some of the shifts, forgiveness is one.
Mm,
And so for a lot of us, we've made a lot of financial mistakes in the past, and we're still carrying that around.
yeah,
And so when we approach another financial situation, sometimes there's a little voice inside of us saying, "Oh, remember when you took that credit card and you maxed it out and you forgot to pay it, and then your credit score went to this?" And all these things start
yeah,
coming up. Or remember when you lent someone this money and they never paid it back? Or just all these things that really just point to a lack of knowledge and a deep insecurity. And I find that what you have to do is forgive yourself and say that you did the best you can at that point and you're so much better now.
yeah, yeah,
And forgiveness is huge. That's really what keep a lot of people from pursuing and understanding their money.
Yeah.
The other thing I think that's a huge mindset shift for people is I don't have to do it all. And so in our heads, for a lot of us, we kind of want to do it all. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, I could be the cook, I could be the cleaner. I could I don't know, I could also be the person who understands my money. I could do this, I could do that. And when you look at it, you're not really doing any of them particularly well.
Yeah.
Right. And so actually making a decision saying that, hey, it's okay. I don't have to do all of this on my own, especially if it's something that you don't have experience in.
Yeah.
It's one thing for me to say I'm going to be the cook in my household, and I grew up cooking my whole life.
Yeah.
But if you're out to do something different that hasn't been done before or hasn't been communicated to you, it's okay to get support around this. And
Yeah.
even people with advisors still come to me. They're, they say, hey, I have an advisor, but when I got an advisor, I thought it would look different now. And I say, well, they can only go as deep as you want to go. And if you don't understand a language, they can't speak a language with you.
Yeah.
And so those are some of the mindset shifts that you really have to think about. And then the other one is, a lot of executives have this in their life, but it's delayed gratification.
Mm.
In our microwave society, we're so accustomed to things now being so quickly, but this does have a delayed gratification because of the power of compounding.
Yeah.
It's almost like a cake. It has to bake in the oven. You can't take it out early or else it's going to be, I guess, chocolate molten, which is cool, but not intentional. And so
Yes.
you have to, for money and investments, you have to keep it in for a certain amount of time to get that nice, beautiful richness.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the sooner you start, the quicker you can take it out the oven.
Yeah. It's a long game, right? It's a long game.
It's a long-ish, but it's not as long as people think. Some
Yeah.
people think it's going to be like 20, 30 years, but no, it'll probably be about 2, 3 years. So as you're listening to this, think about what were you doing 2, 3 years ago, this
Man.
very moment. Yeah. If you did something that moment, this moment would look different right now.
Wow. Wow. And when you think about, I feel like I say this a million times a day, and if you all are listening, you might be like me. Oh, the time is going so quickly. Oh, it just feels like the year just started and here we are going into Q2. I say that all the time. So the time is flying, and before you look up, like you said, 2 years have passed, 3 years have passed, and you could be rich on the other side of it. Okay. Oh, this is good, Ange. I want to make sure that I ask you a couple of our core season questions, but as we start to kind of close this part of the conversation, let's say there's somebody listening and they feel financially stuck, even though they might be making a decent salary. Maybe they got a lot of debt. Maybe they're supporting other family members. Who knows? But they feel stuck. What is the first step they should take to regain control?
A breath
Mm.
is important. Um, and then what I would love for you to do, a lot of it is funny because it is mindset. There's a reason why the company is called Happy Investor Method and not Investor Happy Method or all those things. It's happy first because it really starts with what you want for yourself
Yeah.
and how you're going to be happy. And so at that point, when people feel stuck, what I recommend you do is drop into where you want to be in the future.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like if you're in a room, you could walk out the room mentally for a second and walk into the room that you see yourself going into. And so, yes, it's a bit of visualization, but it is the most powerful thing. One of the most powerful things about being a human being is the fact that we have an imagination. And somewhere along the line, people have told us to stop using it, but the kids really have it right.
Yeah.
Use your imagination. So what I want you to do is I want you to imagine a time in the future where it doesn't feel this way, where your money feels
Mm.
light, where you feel provided, where you feel protected, where you feel as if your money has got you. And then what I want you to do is I want you to sit and I want you to journal all the times in your life where your money has actually had you. And so I want you to think about your first job, your first promotion, the fact that this money is showing up, helping you take care of people, the fact that even though you have debt, you still have more money coming, the fact that it just seems to be such a renewable resource in your life. And then what I want you to do is sit in your spirit and I want you to say, okay, how can I take a baby step to that future?
Yeah.
Just a baby step, not a leap, not anything like that. And something's going to come to you. And it might not, for some people, it might be put a little down with the debt.
Yeah.
For some people, it might be think about what does it look like to get another job or to advocate for a promotion or to say, hey, I never took advantage of this perk. Do we have this as a perk?
Yeah.
Maybe it means getting into programs with other women so you can start navigating what that next move for more is. And then once you do that, now it's like, okay, I have the vision of what I want to be. I want you to put that on your mirror and say, like, it's going to be okay. And then I want you to start making little micro things to do it. If you have people in your life that are kind of leeching off of you, I want you to start bringing those relationships to like winding it down, saying,
Yeah.
like, hey, I have goals and I love that I've been able to support you, but I have new things that I want to do. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to support you in this way for a very long time.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to have to give you a little less. And I'm going to do a little less like in 3 months so that you can prepare for less.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's having those financial boundaries and advocacy for your future self.
I love that. Oh, that's good, baby. You just gave us some practical things. I was taking some mental notes in my head, walking out of the room and coming back. I love that. I love that. If that resonated with you all, I encourage you to pause this thing, rewind that again, and walk through that exercise as she's talking, saying it. Pause it a few times as you literally walk out the room, walk back in the room. That visualization can be a really powerful jumpstart to help you see a new vision and go towards that. I love it. Anything else you want to say on this topic, Ange, of just like optimizing your salary before I ask you just a few of our core season questions?
I think really if I could just put aside that percentage, you can learn while you invest,
Yeah.
but there's nothing like knowing how to do something and not being able being able to do it.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where you have your driver's license, but you got no car to drive. Right? You can do both. Get your license and get your car so that when you get the license, you can actually drive it.
Yeah.
So start putting that money aside because I do think this time in this era, what's happening, it's not common, but there are going to be so many millionaires and billionaires created during this period of time
Yeah.
because this is what power looks like during this period of time.
Yeah.
And I remember when the last recession happened, I was like, oh, you ain't never going to catch me like that. Because I made 50,000. And I was like, if I had more, it could have been 500,000.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic came and I invested. And I was like, oh no, you're not going to catch me again like that. And I invested a lot.
Yeah.
And now I'm doing the same thing. It's like, oh, we're in a dip. It's go time.
Yeah.
And so what I want to say to you, it's go time, but you have to do it in an educated and practical way. And you have to start setting aside so that your future self can actually manifest and be created.
Powerful, powerful. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. So you are getting into this season's theme of driving the narrative of your career. We've been talking about driving the narrative of your money. And it's really about, as you just walk through in that little kind of walking us through how we can do that visualization exercise, is setting and pursuing the vision that you set for yourself, advocating for yourself along the way, and tapping into the resources you need to make it happen. That's what we mean by driving the narrative. So in thinking about kind of your career, Ange, can you share, and this is for inspiration for listeners, right? Can you share a vision that you set for yourself professionally of something that you wanted to do and you have been able to pursue it and have realized it? What was that thing and what helped you to realize it?
The first one was actually when I went to work at Goldman Sachs as a summer analyst. And I remember thinking, I didn't grow up with money, but if I can find the best person who knows how to do this whole money thing, I'm going to go learn from them. And I remember just thinking that in my head. I remember thinking, if I could just find the best entity in the world who's great at money, it's going to work out for me.
Yeah.
And that was the first time that I realized that all the things that would be the normal qualifiers to get someone in the room didn't really apply to me. Because if you have a certain favor, if you have favor and if you have a certain calling on your life, there really isn't, it works outside of the normal rules.
Yes.
And that was where it was clear. I was a philosophy major working at Goldman Sachs. I was a woman of color working at Goldman Sachs. I was one of 3 people from my entire university accepted.
Wow.
As a philosophy major. So let that sink into, okay, well, I guess you were meant to be there. So that was definitely one of the first times. And then the second time was when I went to Goldman and I realized that I'm managing money and they're not showing me how to make it.
Wow.
And that was really hard because I worked really hard to get that position. And I thought I might have found an answer to never be poor again in my life. And I just saw even more money than I ever imagined. and there was no way for me to get to it.
Wow.
And I think I subconsciously posited in that moment that I'm going to figure this investing thing out because it works. I see the receipts of it working for other people, and it can work for me. I just need to figure it out. And then to now own an investment education company, about 17 plus years later,
Wow. Wow.
like I don't think I could have intentionally plotted that, but subconsciously trusted that it would get here.
Yeah. Full circle moment. Yeah. Well, we have to be well to fully realize our professional and personal goals. And we really make that a critical part of driving the narrative of your career at Black Woman Leading. So I asked you for inspiration. What does your self care look like these days? How are you taking care of yourself?
I generally do what I want. And what that means is I make sure that I am intentional about creating future happy moments. So I make sure that when I open up my phone app, that there is my Delta app or my travel app. I make sure that there is a pending trip in the future
Yeah.
because I know that travel makes me happy. I for self-care, I make sure that I walk. And so I walk a lot at a park that's local to me. I'm not really a gymmy type of person, but self-care is just having some oxygen, moving my body. And then also I make it a real big deal to focus on the relationships that matter to me. And so if I ever see that I'm getting too focused on career, if I ever see that I'm too focused in my mommy role, if I see that I'm not pouring into my marriage, I do those intentional checks because I know that could be a future stressor. So I
Yeah.
really try to prevent the future stress, which is kind of makes sense why investing is my thing. Cause I'm just like, what can I do? And can I pay someone for this to
Yeah.
help me with it? And so that's what I do. I
Yeah.
kind of do what I want and make sure that I can at least afford it and prioritize the things that matter to me.
I love it. I love it. Well, this has been wonderful talking to you and hearing your insight and wisdom on this topic, Ange. Where can people connect with you outside of the podcast? And is there anything special you have going on that you want to share with our listeners?
Yeah, so you can go to happyinvestormethod.com. That's where you can find out more about us. We do a lot of public and private work. And so if you're looking and thinking about, maybe one day you have this vision, you stepped out and you saw, wow, I have hotels or I have property everywhere or I have this portfolio that looks crazy. And if you see that and you don't know how to connect it, what our company does is we help create that bridge from your past, your present to your future. And so you can just go for it and check it out. We also do a lot of corporate wellness programs as well. But all this to say, money loves you and it wants to be around you forever.
Yay! You're welcome, money. You're welcome. All right, all right. I hope you all have found this episode useful, meaningful, valuable, good use of your time. If you have, we encourage you to rate us on whatever platform you're listening to, subscribe, share this with your network to really help us amplify this work that we're doing and this knowledge that we are sharing into the world. You can connect with us at Black Woman Leading, and woman is singular. We are on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. You can also visit our website at blackwomanleading.com to learn about our programs, events, and different services that we have. And then, of course, if you want to connect with me personally, I am at Laura E. Knights on LinkedIn and Instagram. Would love to connect with you. And finally, if you're interested in learning about our corporate programs in which we do leadership development services inside of organizations, you can learn more on our corporate site at knightsconsultinggroup.com. We would love to connect with you in any of these ways. And until next time, be well.